Fast Forward Productions. The women are speaking. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a very special episode of the One Broke Actress podcast, an honest account of actor life plus a few lessons I learned in the process. I am your host, Sam Valentine, and today I am releasing one of our Patreon and bonus podcasts live to the public. I'm doing a lot of content right now on YouTube and Instagram, all about some previous bookings I had, and I thought this was a great way to kind of share some behind the scenes with you guys who don't usually get the bonus podcasts. So this is a podcast I recorded a little while ago based on a full booking I did, how it all went, what I learned. I really break it down. And here's the thing about the bonus podcasts. They're much more on the pulse. I know I get pretty personal in the regular podcast, but this is a little bit more. These are typically unedited. They are more in the moment and more current. I have podcasts that I recorded in my car when I was experiencing something crazy or to and from set. And I thought this was a great reminder and just a good one to share with you guys. And if you like this kind of content, please check out the Patreon podcast at patreon.com/onebrokeactress. Or if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, you can join the bonus podcasts. They're both $4 a month, and it truly helps support One Broke Actress. And the Patreon and bonus podcast is how we qualify for being a SAG signatory podcast. It is the biggest and easiest way to support One Broke Actress on a month-to-month basis. And I make sure that content is really good for you guys. So go check it out if you haven't already. I would love to have you. And without further ado, please enjoy today's episode of the Patreon and bonus podcasts. What's up, guys? Welcome back, Patreon team, to your bonus podcast episodes. It is June right now. I'm recording this because I'm going to be out of town a lot in July, and I wanted to get you guys some content all set ahead of time. So I mentioned on my Instagram when I was going to post about my last booking, the episodes of Bosch Legacy that I got cast in, that I was going to do a podcast episode all about that. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized a lot of it is extremely insular and it's super personal. And I was like, this feels more right for my Patreon team. I think they need this more than anyone else does. So today we're going to get into that booking, the process of getting it, the process of staying on the project, the wait time for it to actually come out, the in-betweens, what I actually do now that it's out, all that good stuff we are going to cover today. So it's going to be very much a podcast about me, which you guys know is not my favorite topic, but I think that there's a lot to learn from it and some big takeaways. So let's get into it. Okay, so I got this audition from my agent in July of 2021. I signed with my agent in January of 2021 and instantly started going out. I averaged about an audition a week last year between commercially and theatrically. So the first couple of months, it was pretty rough learning period because I feel like I wasn't ready to consistently produce quality materials because up until then, I honestly barely got theatrical auditions. So in 2021, that really took a turn for me for that year. Just so you know, it's very different this year. So by the time July hit, I was in a regular groove of auditioning pretty regularly for me. I got the Bosch audition. It came in on July, the weekend before 4th of July. I think 4th of July was on like a Sunday or something, and like it was the Friday before, and I popped it open and it was like Bosch, a spinoff. I was like, oh my God, because my husband loves this show and his whole family and a lot of my family love this show. And I was like, this is good. This is exciting because it's just so fun to do something that your people know, right? Like we can do 10,000 episodes of a show on some streamer that no one knows, but when it's something that you're familiar with, it's just really exciting. And please forgive me because I am still a week out of COVID, and so I have a little bit of a dry throat. A little iced coffee, a little water helping me out. So I got this audition in July, the first week of July. I got it on a Friday afternoon before a holiday weekend. So it was due, I think, on like the 7th or something like that. And I got it on the 3rd or 4th. I had no script. I only had sides. I only had the one page, which you guys, if you've seen my Instagram where I shared the audition scene compared to the actual scene I shot, that is all I was given. And then a slate. They didn't even ask for a full body. It was very basic. And this is Vicky Thomas, and I had never been into her office before. So this was actually my first time going to this casting office. So I read the sides, and then I put it down, and I had a party. not anything to do with the audition. It was the weekend of 4th of July. We were grilling out. We had friends over at our pool. We were like playing games and all this stuff. Like it was a full like party weekend. I even had drinks. Like I didn't change my schedule at all for this audition. Also, I had plenty of time. It was, one page, it wasn't a ton of craziness. And it was something that already felt very in my wheelhouse. So I put the audition down I confirmed it. And then I put the audition down and then we had a party. It was a great weekend, actually. I remember it very fondly. And then the next day we filmed it. So I did my whole thing. Ice rolled my face, got rid of any bloating in my facial features with some ice. It probably made no difference whatsoever. And then Caleb helped me film the audition. Now, this is a key part, is that this role that I ended up booking, Jasmine, is the girlfriend of a guy who was in the previous show. So this character already existed. However, he was being recast and they were changing his storyline. So we had to kind of meld what Caleb knew about the show and what I knew about the show and make some executive decisions. I watched a couple episodes from the final season of the show. It's also a hard play to call because it's a spin-off. So it's a lot of the same people, but it's not the same show. So I watched a couple episodes and then I utilized Caleb as my information resource because he had seen every single episode. And we made some guesses and we developed the character off of that pretty quickly. This wasn't like a huge insertion of my time. I mean, I watched 2 episodes of the show and then worked the sides. I didn't coach it because it felt like it would be too much to put coaching on top of. And yeah, I mean, so like, 2 episodes plus maybe an hour of work before the tape. So nothing crazy, right? Like it wasn't a big delve into. And this character was written as potentially recurring. So it was a maybe. So it was guaranteed 1 episode and then potentially 2. But it's cool because we ended up getting 3. So then we filmed it. I think we did it 3 times total. We did that scene 3 times. And on the last one, I turned to Caleb and he goes, "That was great. That was it." And I was like, "I feel like I didn't do anything." He was like, No, that's the show. That was it. I was like, "All right, cool." Packaged it up, sent it out. 2 days later, I got the call from my agent that I was on hold, which was thrilling. And she was like, "Well, no, tomorrow." Tomorrow happened to be my birthday. It was July 7th, so my birthday was the next day. She was like, "Well, I'll definitely be giving you a call tomorrow one way or the other." I was like, okay. So the next day I got up and my friend and I went paddleboarding in the marina in Marina del Rey, and we went to lunch. And while we were at lunch, I got a phone call from my agent and it was a FaceTime. So I was like, the second I saw it was a FaceTime and not a phone call, I was like, fucking booked it. Because I didn't think that my agent would FaceTime me on my birthday to tell me I didn't get a role. Maybe she would, I don't know, but she didn't. So I got to answer the phone call and I got to find out about the booking while I was at lunch with my friend Tiffany, and Tiffany videotaped it, and it was so fun and exciting because I've never booked more than 1 episode before. So the potential of having 2 on a show that I was familiar with was the most exciting thing in the whole world. And my server came out and like brought me a free drink and like comped it for us. I mean, it was just like such a sweet, really kind, cool moment. Yeah. And then, so that was like that's the pre-party part. That's the part that you think about and picture and like all the exciting stuff. And then kind of the tedious work began, right? So first of all, I also got to tell Caleb, I should post that video. I got to tell Caleb that I booked it and he was so freaking excited. It was so cute. And we were at dinner for my birthday. I mean, it was just like, these are the type of stories you want to like hold on to for the bad times, because like they're so sweet and perfect that it's like, it makes all some of the bullshit worth it. So after that, I think I got a call from wardrobe shortly after to arrange my first wardrobe fitting. Hair and makeup called me because they wanted a selfie of what I looked like so they could decide on hair and makeup. And I think it was like 2 weeks from when I booked it until I actually went to set. So sometime in there, I had a wardrobe fitting. And I did my hair and makeup for my wardrobe fitting, which is something I talked about a lot at the time on Instagram because it made such a huge difference for this character, because She was supposed to be basically arm candy to this rich guy. She was way younger than him. She was like in like crazy dresses, getting her nails and hair done all the time, like super sugar baby type of situation. And so if I went in my normal day-to-day look, which is no makeup, hair back in a messy bun, looking pretty casual, I knew the clothes look different and it would be harder for production to pick. Also, I'll be honest with you guys, I know someone who went to a wardrobe fitting very, very casual for a very dressed up character, and production saw the photos and they were like, that's not the same girl. We don't want that girl. And the role was recast. So I live in fear of that. I don't know, I don't have any relevancy to that story or if it's ever happened more than one time, but it did happen at some point. So it's like, why not safeguard what you can? So I did my hair and makeup before each wardrobe fitting, and I felt very confident, and wardrobe literally stopped me and were like, thank you. You made our job so much easier because you look already ready to roll in your photos that they sent to production to okay the outfits. They asked me what I thought about the outfits, which was really nice because that's not always the case. They asked if I liked my shoes. They asked how comfortable I was. There was an outfit they originally had me try on for one of the first scenes that was sitting in the nail salon, and it had a big cutout in the midsection. And the second I put it on, I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this is a good idea because I'm going to be sitting in a nail salon chair and my stomach's just going to be folded in half and I'm going to be uncomfortable. And I know I won't do better work like that. And they were like, okay, cool. Let's not even take a picture in it. And they switched it out. Like, who am I, right? I've never used to stand up for myself. In a different world, I would have been like, okay, well, guess I have to figure out how to sit properly with a midriff showing and also make it look good on camera. And also I should probably lose some weight before the shooting. No, all I had to say was, I'm not comfortable. I think we can do better. And then we changed it. So that was a huge takeaway for me from that process. So when I finally arrived to set my first day, this was, like I said, 2 to 3 weeks after that booking, and I was nervous because I hadn't been on a set in a long, I guess it'd been like 3 months since I'd been on set, so it actually hadn't been very long. But to have a role, my previous time on set that was very close to this, I had one line. So in comparison, to be a character that actually mattered for plot, I was a bit nervous. So I did all the things I needed to do to calm myself down, took care of myself the night before, the day of, changed my schedule. My husband and I share a car, so it was very important for us to communicate on who drives where and when. And of course, my call time was 3:30 in the morning because they just love to do that to us. It was a very, very early call time, but I was so excited that I was just so fucking happy to be there. So the first shoot day, I actually ended up being there from 3:30 in the morning until about 6:30 at night. It was a long day because they had shots they wanted to get of us in the morning light that were very contingent upon the time of day based on the sun because it was all outside. And then there were my shots were the last of the day. Now here's something they don't tell you very often, and I think I mentioned it in my podcast about what happens when you get to set. When you are a co-star, a guest star, when you are not regularly on the call sheet, you will probably shoot last. You'll probably shoot your coverage last. They'll probably push you to the end of the day because they need to get their series regulars and their leads out because they need them to come back the next day and be on time. There is a penalty in SAG if you have to do a rush call for people so you don't get that 12-hour turnaround time. So they need their leads and their people to get home. Also, they want them to get sleep and, try to get themselves together before they come back the next day. So I was first and I was last, which is fine, right? I was just fucking thrilled to be there, honestly. The bummer about COVID is that you're in your trailer a lot when you're not shooting. So it's not as fun as it used to be, whereas you would be, hanging out with people and meeting new friends and this and that. Now you're kind of just in your trailer because there's not really a place for you to publicly hang out. And lunch, in my experience in the past couple of years, has been brought to me in my trailer. So I just kind of sat in my box, just hanging out. The funny thing was that first day when I got to set, I distinctly remember while I was there, I got 2 commercial auditions and a theatrical audition, all while I was sitting on my trailer on set. And I thought, you guys, I was like, even though I know better, I was like, this is it. This is my life now. Our brains trick us into making us think that like once good shit happens, it's like, this is it. This is how I shall live now. And, it made it really fun because I was like, oh, well, I have other stuff to work on while I'm in my trailer. That was really cool. And I loved that part of it. And I think of it very fondly, but it's just so funny how with all of the work I've done and all of the training and all of the talks I go to and this and that, I still let myself think sometimes that one thing is the thing that changes everything. Yeah, it's not. But I did come home from set that night and pulled off my false eyelashes and filmed 2 of the 3 auditions and filmed the next one the next day. And I felt like a baller. I gotta tell you, it felt pretty cool. So yeah, that was my first day. I would say my biggest takeaways were that I got to meet some really cool people. Our assistant director had also known my husband. They had worked together, and so I got to meet like someone who knew my world a little bit. And the actress I got to work with specifically in my scene was amazing. The car I got to be in was amazing. Michael Rose, who plays my boyfriend in the show, is an incredible actor. So just working with him was very interesting to watch. Being on set is the best. It's the best learning grounds in the whole world. So it was great. It was absolutely fantastic, and I loved every minute of it, no matter the hour of the day. My second shoot date, I was there for about 5 hours in comparison to the first one. It was about a week later. I came back in just to shoot a night scene at a restaurant, and that was the first time I had been on a set just late. But it's so funny. There's a picture on my vision board of a shut down Hollywood Boulevard and a camera crew working on Hollywood Boulevard. And although we did not shut down Hollywood Boulevard on my second day of shooting, they shut down a section of La Brea to shoot at Republique. So, it looked kind of like the picture I had posted on my vision board. And I was like, this counts. This is that moment. So I thought that was really, really a beautiful, cool kismet moment. That was a day. We also got thrown some wild lines, which I've not done wild lines in a long time. And the director was like, we want them just like this, just record them. And we kept flubbing them for some reason, myself and Michael Rose. And so he was like, here, you can just read them off the page. And we just read them off the page. They recorded them straight into the recorder. So if you've never done wild lines, it's when they literally just have you record. They're not syncing it to video. And they ended up utilizing those as though someone was listening in on our conversation as a plot point. So that was really, really fun. And I met an awesome actor who played a valet at the restaurant we went to. And, on his way back to the trailers, I was like, man, this is such a great day for him. You know what I mean? And like my goal is to be the person that I wanted to be around early in this business. So while we were in the van on the way back, even though it was super late, I was like, hey, do you want a picture in front of your trailer? And he was like, oh yeah, totally. That's so nice of you. Thank you so much. I was like, man, if I could just bring this energy to every set I go to and just, be there in service to the role, but also to other people, like that is definitely something. It's definitely a big takeaway for me as well there. That's something I want to do and carry with me. So for that particular episode, I actually had 2 shoot days. So for the first episode, I got 1, and then I got the call later that they wanted to add me to the second episode. So I was like, yes, more work. Fantastic. Because it wasn't guaranteed, right? So I was trying not to think about it while I was on set that I wanted to do a good enough job that I wanted them to bring me back. And I tried not to think about it, but it definitely sat in the back of my mind, right? So all I could do was do my best and walk away. So I left those first couple of days, just hoping that was it. Just hoping that I did a good job. Just hoping that they would bring me back. And then I got the call, I think a week or 2 later from my agent. All right, they want you in the next episode. They are filming here and here. This is the timeline. Okay, great. I had another wardrobe fitting for that episode. And Did the same thing, came hair and makeup ready, did all my stuff. That was a longer day as well. When I shot that episode, we were shooting outside of Jar, the restaurant on Beverly. It's all my character does is go to restaurants. So that was really, really fun. That one I got to shoot with Titus Welliver and Mimi Rogers, and they were just so chill. It was just another day in the office. They'd obviously been working on this series for 7 seasons beforehand, and now they get this new one together. Titus Welliver was also an executive producer, so there was a moment where we were rehearsing the scene for one of the pieces, and he was like, "We're just going to cut your line from there. We make it simpler." I was like, God, that's so cool. I want to be able to do that. I want to have that power at some point. So it was just really cool to watch them work. And also when we were waiting for our shots, we had stand-ins, and then when we were sitting in our chairs waiting for them to line up the lights and stuff, we talked about our lives. Somebody was talking to their kid about getting groceries on their way home. Somebody else was talking about having coyotes in their backyard. It's just a really good reminder that all these times I tell you guys, like, have more going on than just acting. Those are the times, right? Those are when you are talking to other actors on set, the last thing they want to fucking hear about is your acting. We just all want to be real people. So it was just a lovely reminder that is such an important part of our jobs, is to be real people and to read the room, to know when to be a part of the conversation, to know when to sit quietly, to know your piece of the puzzle was really, really important. Like, I asked to take a picture with them all, but I timed it in a way where it wasn't in the way of anyone. It wasn't before we were going on set. Nobody had any lines to say. It was very much timed to the perfect situation in that particular room. And I almost didn't do it because it had been pretty busy up until then. So that was also something that was really nice. So we wrapped that, and they did the whole martini shot where they were like, "That's a wrap on Sam Valentine," and everyone clapped, and we were like, "Okay, cool, that's it, sick." And I was like, "All right, 2 episodes, thanks so much." And that was it. And I thought that I was done. And I hope, of course I hope for more. Are you kidding? Especially being one of their lead characters. Especially being one of the lead character's girlfriends, I was like, there must be another scene where they need to see me. Because we all convince ourselves how important we are. So I was getting ready to go get married. This was all done in the weeks leading up to my wedding. So that was a whole nother layer of this process that I haven't mentioned yet. But I was also finishing my 3rd wedding date planning. So there was a lot going on at home in conjunction with these days on set. So it made for a really nice on-set conversation. I had a lot to share and a whole life outside of what was going on. But, I went straight into, all right, got to pick up the dress, got to do this, got to do that. And in process of heading out to my wedding, I got a call from my agent again, and she was like, "Hey, they want to see if you're available this week in September." And it was the week that after my wedding, where I was still in Colorado. And I was like, shit. Here comes a big choice. Do I want to come home early from my wedding in order to get more time on this project? Or do I want to set a boundary now that this is one of those life moments where I cannot be swayed? And so I did the scariest thing I've said in my whole life. And I said, I am home on Thursday, whatever day it was in September, and I cannot come home any earlier. And they said, okay, we'll see what we can do. And that was it. I was like, oh, fuck. Did I just get myself removed from a potential situation, or the writer's going to write me out now? It's such a hard thing to choose, because it's like, a wedding is a big fucking deal, right? But also, this job was a huge, huge deal to me. So making that choice was really, really hard. And I talked to Kayla about it, and I was like, I do think I just want to stay with our plans, right? If it's that important, I think they'll figure it out. And knowing it was going to be my 3rd episode and not my 1st was a privilege in this process of hoping for
of hoping that they would know my work thus far. Because before then, I probably would have been like, yeah, I'll do anything. I'll change whatever. I'll acquiesce to anyone whatsoever. So to not do that was a really big deal and a big growth moment for me. And Caleb and I left for our wedding. So we left a week in advance of our wedding, and then we were staying a week after our wedding in Colorado. So we left for our wedding. We got into town in Salida, Colorado, where we got married, where his parents lived at the time. And we spent our first day at our condo. The second day, we were running around town. We went to this cute bar that makes their own gin, and we were having a cocktail. Just the two. There was like no one in this place but us. And I got forwarded a script, and they were like, hey, we'd love to make this work the days you get home. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, they're going to work around me. And then I opened the script, and Caleb was like, look at it, see what your scenes are, check it out. So I opened the script at the bar, and I flip through the scenes, and I see that this scene is about me. And it's very much my character's scene. And she's getting threatened by these guys, and it's like this big deal. And it was emotional, and it was driven, and I was like, oh, holy fuck, they wrote this for me. Did they actually write it for me? I don't fucking know. But you know what? I don't care, because I've told myself for a very long time now that they did. So I was like, this is incredible. So the days leading up to my wedding, I got to know that I had work to go to after my wedding. That was fucking rad. That was an amazing feeling. And I was not sure how they were going to COVID test me, wardrobe fit me, get all this stuff done. But I was like, they'll figure it out. There's a lot of people's jobs involved in making this work. And my job is to be here and be present and then go home and get my work done. So after I got the script and realized the scene was pretty intense, I then reached out to Sarah Mornell, and I was like, hey, can I schedule a coaching with you for the day before I shoot this? So we got home on a Thursday. We got home from our wedding on a Wednesday, and I was going to shoot on Friday. And so I was like, can I schedule that Thursday? Can I schedule a coaching session? And she was like, yes. And I want it to be your wedding gift. So she gave me my coaching session for free as my wedding gift, which is just, that's Sarah for you. And she was like, also, this is great. Now you have it in your schedule. Put this script down. Don't pick it up again. Go be married. And to get permission from a coach that, like, I had insulated myself with the work, right? I already knew who the character was. I'd already been on set. All of the hard stuff was done. I had a coaching session for this particularly emotional scene. It was all set. And so I could just go be free. So if you don't have a coach that you trust and work with yet, here's your sign, right? Find one. So after the wedding, we still didn't know what my schedule was going to be like. We were like, are we going to have to like fly home and try to figure this out? They contacted me 3 days after my wedding, and they were like, hey, production contacted me, and they were like, hey, can you get COVID tested where you are in Colorado, and then you can just bill it to us? I was like, what? Yes. And of course, the town I'm in is tiny, and their local pharmacy is also like a soda pop joint where you get like milkshakes and malts and stuff. It's so cute. It's like just so old school. So I went to the soda pop joint / pharmacy, got COVID tested, did it all on production's tab, and then they were like, okay, great. We also, because you have to COVID test twice before you get to set, and they wanted me to have a wardrobe fitting on the Thursday. So I was coming home Wednesday, wardrobe fitting Thursday, shooting on Friday. Bam, 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 very quick. And they arranged it so that a COVID concierge showed up at my condo on Wednesday night, because we drove home from Colorado and it's like 16 hours. So coming home from our wedding, the day before we left Colorado, I COVID tested at the local pharmacy, drove out of town the next day, drove the 16 hours. They sent a COVID concierge to my house to test me that evening. The next day I was in wardrobe, and then the next day after that, I was back on set shooting. How fucking wild is that, you guys? This was such a trip. It's really nice to talk about this, because I have not dissected how big of a process this was and how lucky I got on so many levels. Like, just sheer luck across all of these platforms. So I got to set. I didn't worry about how I looked. I didn't worry about any of that stuff, because I was like, what the fuck ever, man. They picked me to be here. They want me to be here. And it was such a good day, and I stayed really focused on my work, and I did exactly. Sarah's coaching session was so pivotal and so helpful in getting the shots that we ended up getting. And one of the funny things was at one point we were coordinating how I was going to be touched, because in the scene I get threatened and these Russians put their hands on my character's throat, and I said, and they were like, "Can I put my hand here?" And they were asking permission. It was very, very well done. And we were talking it out with the director, and I was like, "Yes, but just don't cover my face." And the entire crew erupted in laughter. And I turned to them and I was like, listen, I've been cut out of a lot of shit. And so when we finished filming, the script supervisor leans over to me and she goes, "They're not cutting you out of that, sweetheart." And it was so sweet. And it was such a beautiful moment to know that, we all just want a little bit of validation, because the rest of the crew had to go on and film the rest of their day. This was episode 6 out of 10. So they were fucking busy, right? So I was just a small part in that day, but I felt really good about how that all process ran out. And I knew from then on, based on the scripts that was going to be my last episode. So I wrapped that. And this was the first week of September. So I booked this in July. I shot in July, August, and then in September. And then I waited until March 6th of 2022, 10 months later, for it to premiere. Yep. This is why, by the way, if you haven't taken the Working Actor Workshop, why I talk about the longevity of this career, because that is pretty unbelievable to think about. Because what the fuck are you supposed to do for 10 months? I also had no idea if I was going to be in the show. I've been cut out of so many projects for various reasons, and you just never know. So I didn't want to crazy celebrate it. I wasn't sure what to do. And so, when it finally did air, I decided to have my friends over to hall watch it. And I got up the night before the episode came out, and I watched it to make sure I was in it before I had everyone over. And if not, we were all going to go to the movies or go get food or drinks or something. There was a plan B just in case, because it was a big deal for me to celebrate a victory, not knowing if it was actually going to happen. So in those 10 months, obviously, we added it to my Actors Access / Breakdown Services profile that I had been recurring in the untitled Bosch spinoff. But it didn't go on my IMDb for a really long time, because you're not supposed to talk about shit that doesn't air, right? So we put it on my online profiles for my agents to use for pitching, but that was it. And you guys, I have no idea if it made a difference in pitching. Of course, it must make some kind of a difference, because that's some good clout, right? To have booked something. It's also a role that very much fits my current casting. But it aired, and I cut the episode. I did a post last month about how to pull your footage, and I pulled the footage, and as of this date, it really hasn't, changed anything. I kind of thought it would be a bigger deal. I did, even though I know better. I kind of thought that having such good scenes would matter more. And as of yet, it really doesn't. And of course it's summer and it's kind of quiet and stuff, but your goal is not to own the footage, but continue to do good work. And so although I do have the footage cut, although it exists on my profiles, although I do have the credit, nothing's really changed. And I want to really emphasize this point, because as beautiful and fun as this story is to tell, it's just one of many moments that I should hopefully nail down over the next couple of years, right? I also think a big takeaway from this is your life is prep for the small roles. The turnaround is so fast, you have to already be taking care of yourself, right? The prep is your life. That was such a fast turnaround, such a fast shoot, and then nothingness for a long, long time, that if I hadn't been already taking care of myself, if I hadn't been getting my hair done because this character was very put together, if I hadn't been feeling like I was one of my top priorities, if I didn't have my schedule in place already to handle this type of role or this turnaround of these days on sets, then I wasn't ready. I had someone reach out to me recently and say, "Hey, what happens when you get sent a script and sides and you only have 2 days to turn in an audition? Should you read the script?" And I responded to them, a script is a gift. And if you get one, you need to read it. It's our job to have the availability of our schedules to do stuff like that. And sure, a lot of the time we feel like we have too much free time and we're not doing enough. But you kind of have to have that built in order to do this job. I think that was a huge takeaway for me, because if I would have been waiting for an audition to come in order to take care of myself, in order to earn that right, I would not have been ready. If I would have waited to have a coach on hand that I trusted, I would not have been ready. So I hope this was helpful. I also think it's important to note that I needed to feel this job fully, thoroughly, inside and out, to be ready for the next one, whenever that is. I booked this wrapped in September. I booked a commercial in October, and that's the last on-camera booking I've had since then, at this moment in time. Listen, I hope that changes by the time this podcast comes out, but it's mid-June right now, and I haven't yet. And I'm fine with that, but I'm also like, it's so interesting to think about what actually matters and what actually the work is. So I'll leave you guys with that. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, this was very insular and very much about me. So I hope you guys still liked it. If you got any takeaways from this, will you comment them below so I know that it was actually useful to you? Let me know your thoughts on this. And, I have a co-star coming out in August that I would like to do a similar process for. If you guys are down, let me know if you like this and if there was any big learning moments for you in it. So thank you guys so much. I hope you're having an awesome month, and I will talk to you very soon.